replace him with Sportsman Dan. Sportsman Dan, I know. Rob.
Also, real quick, shout out Sportsman Dan.
Sportsman Dan, the other Dan. Well, you go. What'd you call him for? Can't call myself a countryman because I sit on my ass and don't work my land. One of these days I'll give a damn.
Creek, can you take me higher?
Stop it. All right, welcome to episode 22 of the Sportsman Dan Show. I am excited to be back with another episode. I do apologize for not uploading a little sooner. I believe I committed to posting an episode once a week. Well, some personal things came up. Everything's all good. Not making any excuses. But at the end of the day, you know, the hobby is exactly that. It's a hobby. And although I love sports cards and baseball cards in particular, you can see my updated background. I had to take care of some things, and I'm probably going to look to do bi-weekly episodes. So maybe once every 2 weeks, if I can sneak in another episode, that'd be awesome. But I got to be consistent, and I got to stick to something. So going forward, that will probably be the setup. However, for now, I do need to talk about the Orioles because we are hot. Now, Blaze Alexander is a little bit more hot than Kobe Mayo at third base, but regardless, I believe 7-3 in the last 10. They were down 5-0, came back and won that game. Pete Alonso is starting to get hot. The infield is pretty fantastic with Jackson Holiday, Gunnar Henderson, and Kobe, or possibly Blaze there at third with Jeremiah Jackson mixed in. Pleasantly surprised by the outfield. Colton Cowser has come alive of recent. Tyler O'Neill will be slotted in left field today against the Red Sox. He definitely has a lot to prove still, but Taylor Ward has been the man in the leadoff slot for the Orioles. This is a team that's a lot of fun, and over in right field, I can't wait for Dylan Beavers to get back. Heston Kjerstad has had a hot bat in AAA, so you know we'll see what ends up happening there. Regardless, there's a lot to talk about in the baseball world. The White Sox are more hot than my Orioles right now. For those of you familiar with the show, friend of the show, David Sandlin, made his MLB debut. We will touch more on that later. But if you haven't listened to our interview with David Sandlin, I really encourage you to do so. Super humble and fun guy who's also a Star Wars nerd. For future interviews, we'll probably talk a little more baseball. But I did focus a lot of those questions around non-baseball things just to keep it fun. And something that is not as much fun but should be remembered is today's June 2nd, which is Lou Gehrig Day. And even as a Mets and Orioles fan, which I'll get to this, I will get to this, I have nothing but respect for Lou Gehrig. And he's probably the Yankee I have the most respect for of all time, him and Babe Ruth, to be honest. Mickey Mantle as well. But anyway, Lou Gehrig, for who he was as a person and what he represents to the game, deserves to be talked about on June 2nd. Gehrig's incredible consecutive games played streak came to an end on May 2nd, 1939. Now, we're all very familiar with this consecutive games played streak because Cal Ripken Jr. famously broke it at Camden Yards. However, when Lou Gehrig gave up this streak, he voluntarily removed himself from the Yankees lineup. Him declining to play was caused by an undiagnosed illness, that was later identified as ALS. Now, fans and everyone was surprised that Lou Gehrig was taking himself out of this game and ending the streak, but given what came on later with this devastating disease that would eventually be known as Lou Gehrig's disease, it does make a lot more sense now. Just 2 months later, on July 4th, 1939, Gehrig stood before a packed Yankee Stadium crowd between games of a doubleheader and delivered what many have called baseball's Gettysburg Address. Lou Gehrig was never one to seek the spotlight, and he initially didn't want to speak, But after the crowd's relentless chants, he stepped forward and gave one of the most memorable speeches in sports history. I read the speech today. There's also a YouTube video of Lou actually delivering it. It is incredible. And it's a reminder that some moments in baseball transcend rivalries, teams, and even the game itself. Lou Gehrig would pass away, I believe, in 1939. He was 37 years old or 39 years old when he passed away. It was 2 years after the end of his playing career. I know that. And I mean, a guy that 7-time All-Star, consecutive All-Stars, MVP, 6-time World Series champion, and that's just what I can remember. I mean, this guy was the Iron Horse for a reason. I want to go ahead and read his speech. It's one of those ones that I was reading today, and I was like, you see clips of it, and oh yeah, the luckiest man in the world, but reading it in entirety, I think does it does hit you a little bit differently. So this is Lou Gehrig's speech he delivered on July 4th, 1939. Fans, for the past 2 weeks, you have been reading about a bad break I got. Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. I've been in ballparks for 17 years and have never received anything but kindness and encouragement from you fans. When you look around, wouldn't you consider it a privilege to associate yourself with such a fine-looking men as are standing in uniform in this ballpark today? Sure, I'm lucky. Who wouldn't consider it an honor to have known Jacob Rupert, also the builder of baseball's greatest empire, Ed Barrow, to have spent 6 years with that wonderful little fellow, Miller Huggins, then have spent the next 9 years with that outstanding leader, that smart student of psychology, the best manager in baseball today, Joe McCarthy? Sure, I'm lucky. When the New York Giants, a team you would give your right arm to beat and vice versa, sends you a gift, that's something. When everybody down to the groundskeepers and those boys in white coats remember you with trophies, that's something. When you have a wonderful mother-in-law who takes sides with you and squabbles with your own daughter, that's something. When you have a father and a mother who work all their lives so you can have an education and build your body, it's a blessing. When you have a wife who has been a tower of strength and shown more courage than you dreamed existed, that's the finest I know. So, I close in saying that I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. I mean, those words by Lou Gehrig are absolutely outstanding. It is the baseball's Gettysburg Address. And I just reading it today. I was like, I need to share that and read it in its entirety because I'm not sure I really ever had as a kid. But moving on and keeping it a little bit more lighthearted, it is important that we remember Lou Gehrig, but it's also important that we remember what David Sandlin did in his MLB debut. If you didn't tune in against the Minnesota Twins, David Sandlin was called up after having a 0.57 ERA in AAA. It's pretty good. He retired 18 straight batters in his major league debut, the most by a White Sox who is making his debut over the last 100 years. So if you didn't watch the game, very first pitch for David Sandlin was a strike that Byron Buxton challenged, and the ABS system ruled it a ball. The following pitch, David Sandlin threw, I honestly, it was a pretty good sinker now that I watched it back, and Byron Buxton took it deep. So his second pitch in the major leagues was a home run. After that, David didn't allow a hit. So it was a fantastic debut. He got his own Tops Now card. I thought it was just super fun to watch. Now, he's pitched again since then. Wasn't quite the same performance, but we'll ignore that. And he's still on the White Sox. So if you haven't got a chance to see him on the mound, definitely tune in. I'm excited to have him back on the podcast as well. Turning over next, I'd be remiss to not show a sports card. It is the Sportsman Dan Show. And with that, I am looking to add a co-host. I realize I kind of did pigeonhole myself with the name Sportsman Dan Show, but more to come on that. This is my most recent pickup. It was a birthday gift to myself that finally got to me from the eBay Authenticator. If you haven't bought a card, through eBay authentication, it's terrible. I wouldn't recommend it. They take way too long, and their packaging it sucks. Their packaging sucks. I'll leave it at that. This card is so sick. It is the Diamond Icons, numbered to 5, first milestone, and it was Kobe's first hit on August 14th, I believe, 2024, against the Washington Nationals. That is a piece of his Mizuno cleat. Obviously, you got the auto on top of it. I just thought this was such a sick card, a very unique card. I don't collect a lot of Diamond Icons. This is just one of those very, very unique pieces that I want on the PC. But I might be, you might see it at a card show near me. I got another showcase now, so I think I might just fill up my second showcase with just some of my cool, like, Norfolk Tides cards, like, some of my cool Jackson Holiday and Kobe Mayo cards. Um, but overall, I'm super excited for an upcoming card show on Sunday, June the 5th, I believe. Way off. Sunday, June 7th. Today is June 2nd, obviously. So on June 7th, I will be at the Portsmouth Rivers Casino. This is a pretty fun show. From 9 to 5 roughly. Although I will be honest, I'm pretty sure people are walking around and buying around 8 a.m. If there are games on, and Sunday, I think there might be some college baseball at least. Um, I'm not sure about NBA. Maybe. Uh, Regardless, Sunday I'll be set up from 9 to 5 selling cards at the Portsmouth Rivers Casino. I talk about sports because they set up these screens, they drop down the projectors. And when I say screens, it's literally like 8 massive projectors. So at any angle, you can pretty much watch a sports game while you're buying cards. Now, that's if there is a sports game. I mean, worst case, you get a little around the horn and pardon the interruption, but I mean, who's mad about that? But no, the Portsmouth Rivers Casino show, I need to check about autograph guests. I don't know if there are any for this show. There definitely might be the voice of Catwoman, I believe, or Batgirl, I'm sorry, some of the anime stuff and TCG stuff. But sports wise, I cannot speak on any autograph guests. I can speak on the $5 Dan box. I've been doubling down on my $5 box. It really has seen dividends the last couple shows. It's one of those things that I just kind of introduced, and I've seen other people do it, don't get me wrong, but it's one of those ones I'm doing dollar boxes and pricing cards with stickers, $1 through $4, and then like a $6 card and a $7. I'm like, what am I doing here? This is taking way too long. So I kind of just figured, let's just go all in on the $5 box. Now, did I take some cards that were priced $4 and put them in the $5 box? Yeah, I did. Now, are there a lot more cards that were at the $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 range? Yeah. And I actually did leave some of those price stickers on just to show, like, yo, this is a $10 card. But I think it just caused confusion because then people were like, oh, you said it was $5. Why is there $10 on this? I'm like, oh, because you're getting a good deal. And that got lost in translation, and that was on me. So now the $5 box is all marked $5. And if you get a stack, I always do a discount. Probably do like 4 for or 5 for 20, something like that. So if you buy 4, you get 1 free, essentially. But I try to put cool autos, cool patch cards, rookie cards, some numbered cards, stuff that I want to dig through. I still love digging through dollar boxes, but I think most people kind of want to get a cool little patch card or something like that. The 2 showcases will be different for me. I typically set up with 1 showcase, but that's why I said I'm not too worried about it. I have the inventory, and then I'm also going to use a section because I want to look at some of my cards. I'm going to set up some cool cards that, yeah, maybe I would sell for the right price, but also I think, we'll draw some eyes and people will be like, oh, I've never seen a card like that. That's cool. I've seen other people kind of do that. I don't know if people call it honey potting or something. I'm not quite sure. But at the end of the day, they're your showcases. Do what you want. Funny story, one of my first shows ever, I didn't have an inventory. I didn't know what I was doing. Or maybe it was my second show, to be honest. But my first straight up sports card show at the field house. Guy next to me said, like, what was it exactly? He was like, yeah, everything in my showcase is for sale, not like some people. And it was like, dang, okay, I get the message, dude. And maybe he wasn't directing it at me, but it pretty obviously was. But you can deal with that stuff being a vendor. And sorry for kind of rambling here, but I'm doing a cage the lawyer style here. But no, I've been setting up now at shows for vending for over 2.5 years. I guess 3 years now. And my first show, I had no idea what I was doing. And honestly, my first 3 or 4 shows, I probably had no idea what I was doing. But I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I did tons of research. So I thought I did. So the point of this podcast, a lot of it is to talk sports and talk baseball. I'll get to why I'm an Orioles and Mets fan here shortly. But I'm a vendor in Virginia. I sell sports cards in Hampton Roads, Virginia, and I enjoy doing so. I think it's an underrated area here, and I also think that with the Norfolk Tides, there's a lot of baseball fans around here, and maybe we don't have that pro sports team, but back in the day we had the Norfolk Squires. And Virginia is a hotbed for talent. If you look at, obviously Michael Vick, Allen Iverson, Lawrence Taylor, Mike Tomlin, there's all kinds of athletes and coaches from this area. But for me personally, I'm a big Norfolk Tides fan. And as a kid, they were the Mets AAA team. And as a kid, David Wright played for the Mets, who's from Hampton Roads, Virginia. So, of course, I was a diehard Mets fan. I love the Mets. Carlos Delgado, Carlos Beltran, David Wright, Jose Reyes, Johan Santana, Francisco Rodriguez, K-Rod. Those were my guys. Tom Glavine a little bit, although he's always better on the Braves. But, right, we all know what kind of happened to the Norfolk Tides. And if you don't know, they switched. They are no longer the AAA team for the New York Mets. It is now the Syracuse Mets. So with that, the Norfolk Tides became the AAA team for the Baltimore Orioles. Now, I was like, okay, cool. I'm still a Mets fan. I'm not going to switch because my AAA team switched. But then you watch Cedric Mullins and Ryan Mountcastle and Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman and Jackson Holliday and Kobe Mayo and Jordan Westberg. And you're like, man, I identify a lot with these hometown kids that I go and watch, get to meet after games. And, it's pretty cool. So I kind of became a Mets and Orioles fan at a certain point. And now, it's an AL and NL team. So I'm going to stick with it. Now, do my friends make fun of me? Yeah, they do. They say I can only pick one. They also make fun of me for my intro video, which I am going to edit. And it's terrible, I know. But we're getting there. And I'm going to try to improve 1% each episode at least. Not quite sure I did that for this one, but I appreciate anyone who listened to my rambling. No pauses for this episode. We did do it one take. Instead of Sportsman Dan, maybe I'm one take Dan. But no, that's it for today's episode. Thank you everybody for listening to episode 22. And I'm excited to get back soon enough with episode 23. Let's go O's. They're playing here as I record this in about 10 minutes. And let's go White Sox too. No, only when David Sandlin's pitching. I'm only a Mets and Orioles fan, not a White Sox fan.